Welcome to the Crypto and Blockchain Talk.
Hello.
Hey.
Guten Tag.
Aloha.
Hola. Shalom.
Hello.
Namaste.
Ni hao.
Privet.
Hello.
Salut. Yassas.
Salve.
Ciao.
Bonjour. Our podcast talks about the latest trends in the worlds of cryptocurrencies and the blockchain. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Crypto and Blockchain Talk. So the guy I have with me today is Will Rush. Will is the CEO and founder of Stack, which is a crypto investing platform which is designed to help people who are young learn to appreciate and operate in the world of crypto. Before we go any further, I think I should first of all welcome you. That was a very untraditional opening.
Thank you.
But tell us exactly how you got into this whole space and how you decided to develop Stack.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, thanks for having me, Aviva, and I'm excited to just dive into this crazy crypto world that we're living in. The origin story of Stack, I think it kind of starts, honestly, like even as a kid. So when I was really young, my dad opened a Vanguard account for me with a mutual fund in it. And I actually still have that account to this day. But really what it did for me was it really opened the entire world of just finance. It challenged me to sort of ask questions of what stocks were all about and the stock market. When I graduated college, I started directly in the finance industry. I worked with sort of the big banks and brokers in the U.S., like Charles Schwab and TD and Scottrade, E-Trade, sort of those players. And in all that time, there was sort of this burning question back in my mind. And it was, why do 65% of Americans never invest in stock personally? I think the next 10 years of my life really became about answering that question. Stack, at some point, was really born out of some of my more recent experiences where I worked with a teen bank up here in Seattle that was teaching high school kids how to get a credit score and how to save over time, doing a lot of really cool things that I frankly wish existed when I was in high school. And, I was really kind of helping build some of the stock piece of their business. And in all of that, it was just too clear that teens were excited about crypto. And they cared a lot more about crypto than they did stock. And no one had really untapped that world yet. And so if you could get a teen who was excited about crypto to enter the world of finance and investing through the medium of digital assets, that to me was a really cool value proposition to offer. So that's really what Stack is born to be. We teach the good, the bad, everything in between. Of course, there's a lot of complexity to this world these days. There's the meme coins, there's Bitcoin and Ethereum, there's smart contracts, there's the metaverse and NFTs. And so we really want to educate. We want to get kids in there at a young age so that they can make mistakes and they can do it with $10 so that when they have $1,000, they're much smarter and conscientious.
All of that is so important. And it's really funny, actually, that you say all of this. I was actually talking to my husband today about this, how important it is. They should actually run finance courses in all schools from kindergarten up. I mean, literally, I don't mean...
Totally.
Yeah, they should start with, did you run a store in your school where we would take money and we would sell things, which now obviously parents would choke at, things like chocolate and stuff like this. But they were trying to give us a sense of money and value and trying to teach us how exactly money worked. But then it died. It was so weird because I remember being in kindergarten and doing this. I remember having the fake cash register. I remember doing it in second grade and third grade. And then it was kind of like money, except for the concept that there's different currencies in the world, which was maybe fleetingly mentioned in some course, probably in history. But no one teaches kids about fiscal responsibility, choices that you can make for yourself, and things that you have to do. And we do teach this to our own child. We teach this to my daughter because I don't want her to grow up and be fiscally stupid. I want her to understand all the choices that are out there. And when you ask that question about why 65% of adults don't invest in stocks. I mean, I can answer risk and also understanding. And the same thing is happening in crypto. People don't understand the world of crypto at all. And to them, if they think stocks are hard, they look at crypto like if you were to explain Einstein's theory of relativity in Chinese. You know, that's how they perceive it. It's just something so difficult. They hear these words and a lot of acronyms and things they don't understand. And the biggest barrier to adoption and entry into crypto is absolutely having to learn a whole new set of words, a whole new system. And a lot of people just don't want to learn new stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think that there is this element of the stock market. Yeah, I mean, I think when we talk about the fear and complexity that the stock market is just cloaked in, what's behind the scenes there really is this this sort of zeitgeist that's happening in the last 5 years, where retail investors can go buy $1 of Amazon stock and they can buy it in a second. And because of that access, you've seen Wall Street bets and you've seen casino betting and a lot of retail investors trying to active day trade on the market. And what, kind of wakes me up every single day is teaching the 65% of people that we're talking about that never get involved, that think that they need to understand the stock market at that level to be a part of it, is actually that you need very, very little education to be involved in some ways at the best level. And the best level meaning put your money in the S&P 500 index and let it sit there for the next 10 years, because that outperforms most hedge funds. It outperforms, really any other stock product and hedge funds. So I think really taking that lesson and using crypto as this kind of demand lever, because it is this new, exciting, fun thing that everyone's talking about and people are really curious about getting involved, and taking that over to these stock market lessons, that is for sure the catalyst for everything that we're doing at Stack.
I think one of the best ways to teach people crypto is kind of like to rip the Band-Aid off. You read all these articles, you see what's going on out there, and they I think this over-explanation maybe is not doing anyone any favors. I personally am starting to believe that just kicking somebody over the edge, literally taking them to the top of the cliff and kicking them off, that might be the best way to get into crypto. Just doing it, like just literally sending them the instructions on how to open up a wallet and how to, depending if they want to trade or if they just want to buy some Bitcoin, depending on what it is that they're trying to do. Just giving them like 3 lines of instruction and then kicking them right off the top. Would you agree that maybe that's the best way to approach this?
Oh my gosh, I think it is the only way. I think that it's essential. I think I always equate it to driving a car. The way that we teach teenagers to drive is we put them in the driver's seat and we say go, but we say go with their parents in the passenger seat.
Yeah.
And no one has created that concept in the financial system in a really successful way yet. And so Stack is really that, right? I mean, basically what our platform does is we have parent access and teen access for every account. Parents approve all transactions that happen on the platform. But teens have completely independent access. They have a different user experience where they can access a whole library of educational content that really is built for them. And so, things like videos that look a little bit more like TikTok videos than they do, blogs or articles that a lot of other financial platforms send you to educate you. And then beyond that, we also teach 5 investing pillars that we give awards for. And so those are those stock market lessons that I was talking about: long-term holding, periodic savings, diversification, engagement, meaning literally just logging into your, financial portfolio and wanting to look at it, and then education. And so if you can hit all 5 of those things early on in life, we think that you'll be prepared to go do whatever else it is. And that doesn't mean that you're going to be day trading the meme coins on your Instagram. And it also doesn't have to mean that you're only, holding Bitcoin for the next 30 years. It's wherever you fall risk profile wise and what you want to do. by educating you, like you said, by pushing off the cliff and saying, just go do it, that is the only way to get you started.
Yeah. I think that you also need like the kind of child parent account where the child is the instructor and the parent is the newbie, or even the parent grandparent account where you, I don't know about you, but it's absolutely hysterical. I have friends who I literally seen their parents use their mobile phone like a walkie-talkie. They don't even know how to hold the damn thing. And I just laugh and I think if they can't even do a phone right, they're never going to get crypto. Newbies, it pretty much is across the board. It's everybody. And especially with everything that's going on in the world. And it doesn't matter if you're in a war zone or if you're in a flood zone or if it's banking the unbanked in a third world country where their banking system is broken. It doesn't matter. If you're trying to onboard with crypto, that learning curve has to be short and swift. And it's really funny because you just used the car analogy, which I love that car analogy. My car analogy goes more like this. Most places, when most of these systems or platforms, when they want to teach you how to get into the world of crypto, this is the way they approach it. Okay, so you want to drive this car. Okay, but before you drive this car, you have to learn what this spark plug does. But even before that, we have to teach you how to build an engine and take it apart and rebuild it again and then put the spark plug in before you can drive. That's what it sounds like to a lot of people. That's what it sounds like to a lot of crypto users, because I think it's literally information overload, like I was saying before. And there's just so many damn acronyms, especially these days. There's 10 new acronyms minimum a day. And I'm not talking about acronyms for just the cryptocurrencies themselves, like Bitcoin, BTC, and Ether, ETH, I'm not even talking about that, because obviously in the stock market, you also obviously have, like the ticker names, yeah? So you have like a bunch of acronyms for the coins themselves, or for the tokens, but we'll call them cryptocurrencies. And then, of course, you have other lovely acronyms, which are for everything under the sun. And people have to learn all this stuff. I mean, and that's...
It's a different language.
It is. And like I was saying before, educating people is a hard thing. People are just, oh God, I know, please don't hate me, audience, for this. I love all of you. I really do. But by God, people are lazy. They're just so damn lazy. And they just don't want anything that even resembles work to hamper their existence. And so if it looks like that your brain all of a sudden has to, and this is it's the majority of people. This is the reason why platforms like booking.com, et cetera, do so well, because it's made the experience of booking your trip one for the brain dead. I mean, and that's a good thing. It means that you can now watch your TikTok or your Netflix while you're booking your hotel room in Portugal. So people want slick and easy. I mean, who doesn't? But the problem is that at this moment, especially with everything that's out there, the people who are hungry for this information, that is a different thing. If you're hungry for this information, you're going to eat it up like no one's business and be an expert. This podcast, the people who listen to it are everyone from complete newbies to people who are literally veterans now in this space and been there since day dot, all the way through to legislators who also are learning what's happening. And obviously they're learning what's happening. Will, do you ever watch the Senate committee, like when they talk about cryptocurrency? Have you ever watched this comedy show? It's free.
I don't watch it live. I watch some highlights, to get the cliff notes of what's happening in the industry. I mean, the regulation that is kind of the moving target of crypto, I think it's really interesting. It's really interesting to obviously be in the space while, like everybody is kind of figuring out how to deal with it. What is it? Is it a security? Is it currency? Is it itself? I think all the questions are fascinating. And I think what you've talked about with just like where education sits in the stack, right? And making things simple, and people maybe being lazy of not wanting to work hard to do certain things. I think there's a part of the private sector that actually has this amazing and really cool responsibility to educate in a way that curriculum just can't anymore. Because the reality is curriculum keeps up with the modern world, and so when you think about, like, I think regulation is great. I actually think centralization of crypto and Web3 can be a really good thing if done correctly. You can do it correctly is you can create a safe environment for people to learn about it, for people to approach it, so that it does seem pretty safe. Because the reality is there's a whole host of people that if they don't educate themselves early on an easy-to-use platform, on an easy UX that is understandable, that isn't cloaked in a bunch of charts, and candlesticks and things like that, and really just says, hey, go buy $10 of something that you're interested in and learn about it. That is like the biggest North Star. Because if you can solve that and you can bring it to the masses, then when they go decide where, they're going to put their money once they're making money as an adult, they can say, I'm going to put $5 in crypto, I'm going to put $10 in crypto, and know what they're doing. And that is what our platform is about. It's not about having, $10,000 in Bitcoin. It's completely agnostic to how much you actually have in your account. It's more really just about getting hands-on with it.
It is a comedy show. You do have to watch the Senate committee. You do have to watch some of the stuff that's going on there, because even the experts are saying things. Some of their experts who are coming in, by the way, or there are people who are advising, obviously, the people on the Senate committee. I mean, I've just been listening to some of the stuff also that the mainstream media has been coming out with, and I'm just shaking my head saying, who are these so-called experts? Do you honestly think in this day and age with social media and misinformation being spread solely on social media, do you think that the target audience for Stack is more vulnerable to being misled and therefore scammed?
I think that Stack is built to save people from getting scammed. And here's why. Because the people that are getting scammed are probably using their Instagram as a financial advisor. And so they see Kim Kardashian or somebody else post something about a coin that they like, and they go and buy that coin, and then they end up getting rug pulled and screwed over. And all we're trying from our home is like the most vanilla, unsexy strategy that has been born out of 100 years of stock market history, and applying that to this really exciting product, crypto, and saying, we think crypto is here to stay. It's here for the long term, and it's probably going to be in every single portfolio, and probably, in my opinion, sooner rather than later. And so what you can do to capture the upside of this world and to understand it, but only put a foot in the water, at least start off, is do some really, really simple things. And so I am out there, championing Stack for the unsubscribers, if you will. The ones that see people arguing about, the rug pulls and all the acronyms that you were talking about in this crypto world, who sort of say, I don't want that on my feed, or I don't care, I'm not a crypto crazy. That's actually who we're trying to get involved. We're trying to get them involved because there is so much wealth opportunity. It's going to create a ton of wealth for everybody that's involved. But you can be involved without being dialed into the highest level. And so that is really exactly what the platform is trying to do.
And that's if anything, that's probably the most valuable part of what you're trying to do, because there's a big difference psychologically to losing some money. You took a risk, or your investment didn't do as well as you intended it to, or you hoped it would do. It's a totally different feeling having somebody steal from you. And it's another...
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's
awful.
Yeah. It's another level. It's damaging for every sense that your body can have. And you don't really want to enable people to enter into something without as much knowledge as possible. Now, with this whole Ukraine thing, there's a lot of accounts going up right now pretending to be organizations in the Ukraine, as well as private citizens. They are raking in money big time, and they're exiting with it. They're doing such a great job that Avast, the company Avast, have actually put out a blog piece, which I've never seen like this before from Avast, because I read a lot of stuff from them. They're shooting warnings out to everyone because people are trusting. They're trying to trust in what they are reading. They're trying to believe what they're seeing, which people want to. They want to believe what they see. And they're giving their hard-earned money to people who are going to run with it. And that's what always happens. Even, as you know, in the olden days of 2017 and 16, with a lot of ICOs, God, it seems like years ago, right, Will? Where like a lot of these,
I remember those.
yeah, where there was a lot of, I mean, I can name tons and tons of projects, all which we've covered here on Blockchain Talk, which were scams. And that's the only.
I think there still are some scams out there, you know?
Oh, there's tons. Oh, no. There are tons. There's a ton of scams still operating. And that's the reason why the U.S. government right now is, I personally feel with everything they've been talking about, they're going to come out with some heavy-hitting legislation in a minute. Some of it, which I think will be for the good, some of it which will be questionable, and some of it which will be outrageous, depending on which side of the divide you sit. So you're giving people as much knowledge as possible in order to face everything that's going on out there, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
That if you have tried to active trade in the stock market, for instance, or in the crypto market, when your portfolio goes red, the last thing I want to do is I want to open my crypto app on my phone or my stock app on my phone. And so you realize as an investor that is just part of learning about this world, and that there is going to be an investment that doesn't work out because the horizon, especially as a 13, a 14, a 15-year-old, is so long that often just very low level of participation actually makes a difference. And it makes a difference between the winners and the losers in the long term. And you just don't need to be we actually did this study. If you were an early adopter and you accessed before you were 18, you had a 13 times higher net worth by the time you were 40 years old, just accessing it. That is the most important thing. And so you're going to get rug pulled, or you're going to invest in Kim Kardashian coin or whatever it is. It's okay to make mistakes because you make mistakes at a very, very low level early on in life. And you learn what is good, what is bad, where do I sit in this world, what do I think about it, because you're doing it hands-on with real money.
I think actually now is a good time for me to do a disclaimer. I normally wait till the podcast, but I'm going to do it now. Nothing myself or Will is saying during this podcast can possibly be construed as financial advice. You have to do your own due diligence, you have to do your own homework, and you have to also find yourself a professional financial advisor if you really do need help within this sector. It's something where you have to really put a lot of thought and effort before you lose your hard-earned money. What I will also say to that is don't invest in anything that a Kardashian tells you to invest in. Do not do it unless you've done your homework and you really believe that in your heart of hearts it's a good idea, but I wouldn't. And that I don't even know what more to say on that one, and I'll make sure that the editing team does what they want with that piece. So well, let me ask you this. I mean, obviously, you're going to have social media as part of your presence because you're in that world. You know, I mean, your target audience is what, between 18 and 30? Would you say is, or do you think it's even younger, 12 to 30? What's your target audience for your product?
13 to 25 is sort of our sweet spot.
Okay, so for the 13 to 25-year-olds, I mean, that is absolute prime TikTok, Snapchat. This is real. Yep. Yeah, it's hardcore social mediaville. How are you really entrenching yourself to be like the go-to voice to these guys? Because, you know, it's very noisy, the internet, and there's your voice is fighting for space amongst so many other people. And I know you described yourself as vanilla, and I applaud your vanilla stance because I understand what you're doing. But, you know, you also said that you were unsexy. The unfortunate thing in life, even now at 12 and 13, which is kind of sickening, they want sexy. And if it looks like someone, God help me, is wrapped in and flashing the cash and doing a dance and TikToking till the cows come home with, you know, crypto floating around them. This is very exciting and enticing. So how can you compete with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a great question. the dichotomy of teaching fundamentals, which naturally are unsexy and vanilla, with hopefully a UX, UI, a user experience, a platform that is designed to be fun, to be gamified, to be social, to be a lot of those things that, you know, you're sort of referring to and has to be sport gen. We are leaning into all of this, and we are leaning into them with those fundamentals under the hood. And so it's, can you create something that's really engaging, that checks all those boxes? But the actual lessons that it's teaching you are not that, hey, if you do, you might go become a billionaire tomorrow. Instead, if you learn these fundamentals on this app, will very, very likely be better off in the long run compared to your peers because you're armed with knowledge. And so it is, I mean, it's a really tricky gray line to straddle. I mean, we spend a lot of time on it, I will tell you that. The authenticity of Gen Z is one of my favorite things about just spending time with, you know, these kids, because we have tried a few different things in marketing, for instance, and, you know, like you can think of paid ads, you can think of content, you can think of affiliates. There's a lot of different ways that you can go with how you spend your marketing dollars. The more authentic you are, the more this generation appreciates your brand and your product. And so we have tried to live and breathe that. We spend pretty much no money on paid marketing. And really do instead is we just empower kids to share with other kids what we're doing. And so we have an ambassador program. And the ambassador program, you can basically be your high school or college rep for Stack. And what you do is you're naturally usually the person that people are coming to talk to about Bitcoin or Ethereum or cryptocurrency. And it's super low stakes. Expectations are zero. If you bring us 0 customers, great. All you do is really raise awareness about this Web3 and crypto world. We host events that are optional that you can go to. And then we also have a Discord and Slack community for these kids to interact with each other because they're like-minded, because they care about this world. And just by doing that and empowering the voice sharing and the social nature of this generation, I think is the most exciting thing that we're doing right now.
But you see, this is the thing. It's not just, when I say this generation, it's really hard for me to kind of, because I know very well who the target audience is in crypto. I read emails that are written to us, and I go to a lot, I used to go to a lot of conferences. Wouldn't you argue that your platform is pretty much for everyone? I know that you told me it's 12 to 25, but why would you limit your product to such a narrow audience?
It's true. I mean, is this a platform for everyone at some point? Absolutely. What I actually love is the symbiosis. I mean, you kind of touched on this earlier. The symbiosis between kids and parents and the opportunity to actually maybe learn together. I think the next phase of what we're building will lean into that a lot harder. Because I think when you build something that makes it simple and easy for someone to get involved in crypto who's 16 years old, you also make it really simple and easy to get involved for someone who's 45 years old. And the lessons that you teach are actually very similar. Even if, you know, maybe you do less TikTok marketing for the 45-year-old, the actual app itself, I don't think needs to change that much. We're going after this young user base because we think it's the place that we're going to learn so much. And it's also a place that you can drive a really cool impact because the investment horizon of young people is so long. They also often are just not really afraid of new things. And I think that's inspiring just to work with this group that is willing to try some new things out and is naturally curious about this kind of Web3 crypto meta we're in. Could we expand to the rest of the population? Absolutely. And I think it's kind of inevitable.
As we know, there's a lot of regulation and legislation which is about to come out. And it's going to be a lines of, in my guesstimate, and remember people, I know I have a crystal ball here many times, but I don't know what's happening here. But my best guess is that they're going to come out with a lot of regulations about the SEC being the overall overarching gods and the people who will have the last say-so on how cryptocurrency is going to be regulated, legislated, and every other word that's putting crypto in its right place within the U.S. economic system, which of course will have resounding and reverberating effects around the world. Now, obviously, parents who are investing in crypto, that's one thing, because we're talking taxes, we're talking a lot of things where they obviously need to be involved. Well, kids in many instances, because of and this is where it gets, I guess, a bit sticky in my mind, most places Bitcoin have a KYC process. And it's a know your customer process. You normally have to be above 18 years old. And unless, of course, the parent is doing it on your behalf, but tax need to be paid on your crypto, and at least in the United States. We're talking about the United States now, everyone. So, and of course, many other countries, but I'm just using the U.S. as an example. So in the U.S., children can't go by at this moment in time. I mean, they couldn't in 2009 because back then it was more along the lines of mining, unless kids are mining, and that's a different thing altogether. But to buy cryptocurrency, you would point your parents on a KYC platform, which of course raises issues surrounding taxes, et cetera, et cetera. Do you think parents will find that a barrier, especially if the regulations seem to be going quite heavy in terms of taxation and regulations?
Yeah. I mean, well, I'll say this about maybe like taxes and regulation. One, regulation of crypto, and this is, again, just an opinion, but I think regulation can be a wonderful thing for crypto if done correctly. And taxation, I think, in some ways does anybody like taxes? Of course not. But you tax crypto the same way that you tax other investment products. What's wonderful about a custodial account, which is that's what we are authorized to offer. So we're the first custodial authorized crypto chain in the U.S. And what that allows us to do is it allows us to give access and build the UX UI specifically for under 18-year-olds that have a parent on top of everything and approving everything. But there's two important things of a custodial account no other account offers. One is you get tax advantages. Yeah, so what Stack allows users to do as the first authorized crypto exchange for under 18-year-olds is parents can allow their children to be taxed at their children's rate for that custodial account as long as it doesn't surpass a certain threshold. And so those divisions, of course, are a great part. The second part that's really important is that kids who are hacking their parents' Coinbase account right now or going on exchanges that don't have robust KYC, don't ask for their age, and therefore they think they're allowed to trade on it. I won't mention any names, but there are exchanges out there. If you read the fine print of those exchanges, the first line of every single one of their terms of service is you must be 18 years or older to operate on an exchange. What can happen is those children's assets, if they realize that you are a child and access account, they can literally seize your assets. So you can lose everything in your account. And so our platform being authorized for this under 18 user that connects to a parent where the parent bears the burden of KYC and authorization, all of those things, but lets a child access a digital wallet, I think that model, again, it's the teen in the driver's seat, parent in the passenger seat type of situation. It's great for education. It's great for hands-on learning. And then what happens at 18 is that assets in that account transition to that now 18-year-old's name.
I was going to ask you about your opinion on the hundreds of exchanges that require no KYC at all.
Yep.
There is no KYC, AML, or any other three-letter acronyms out there. And you can literally, and they don't ask any questions. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure if you told them you were 5, they could care less. As long as you're putting your money in and you're trading and helping them make money. And actually, I'm just going to give a sidebar note. I saw some guy go on to MSNBC, this so-called crypto expert, and he was basically saying that no crypto exchanges in the world operate unless they have KYC. And I was just listening to this poor fool, and I was thinking, this is exactly why people need to do their research, because he doesn't know what he's talking about. Now, let me tell you something, and I'm not going to lie to you. If I was, let's say, 12 or 13, and I really wanted to get into crypto, which I probably would have if I had this at 12 or 13, and I found out that there was a barrier in terms of my age and completing KYC, I'm not going to lie to you, Will. I'm going for a KYC-free crypto exchange. I'm going to find one of these.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, yeah. So,
I would do the same. Video games that I shouldn't have accessed, or go to movies that were, a certain age or older.
Of course.
And, kids do this over time and time again. Really what we're doing is we're just the first actual legal platform that's taken on this barrier. And to your point of regulation, we have from day one, which we could have chosen a lot of routes, right? We chose to be very hands-on regulators from day one because I know how important that is to parents. I know that, especially a parent who's not into crypto themselves, the story that you need to be able to tell them is that you are taking the best practices, that you are going to be really secure, that you are going to do everything in the most legitimate way to protect their child. Because in the parent and teen world, it's the one strike you're out policy. So, we've built our platform really with that in mind. Are there still going to be kids that go and open accounts, illegally and lie about their age or something? Absolutely. And it's really just trying to transition the education of, hey, you can get all of your assets stolen from you by that exchange if they understand that you're violating terms of service.
In my opinion, even Coinbase can steal from you. Yeah, and they have. I did a podcast on this. Coinbase are in no way, shape, or form, they do not have my seal of approval. They are absolutely the bloody worst. And matter of fact, I actually brought this up during my podcast with the CFTC. Because in my opinion, there's a lot of issues with a lot of these. And this is where regulation, you're right, can come in and actually play a big part. For Christ's sake, Coinbase was actually given, I think by the CFTC, they were fined for misleading people. It's
true.
It's so sticky out
there. I agree with
there.
everything you're saying.
Yeah.
I won't name names, but there is an exchange that I have an account personally in. And I had dual factor authentication installed to my iPhone. I got a new phone. I got locked out of the account. And I tried to contact customer service for 3 months straight to get into my account, and no one would listen to me.
Ugh.
And what I had to do was I had to connect with someone on their team that was somewhat high up and say, hey, I am a fellow crypto founder, and I am locked out of my account. And this story, I'm sure, is happening time and time again with you. And he actually got somebody on his team to get me into my account. The fact that you go to that level just to be able to do certain things is ridiculous. And the buck stops at regulation, because this is where regulation is a tremendous thing. There is a customer complaint requirement where if customers are complaining and you are not responding to them within 7 days and you have legitimately made an attempt to resolve that customer complaint, the CFTC, others will come in and they will fine you, And so this is where regulation can be a really, really good thing.
I agree, but guess what? Coinbase is still operating, even though they, look,
totally.
They've already paid a $6.5 million fine for false, misleading, or inaccurate reporting and wash trading. They were already misleading people. And they already got
Robinhood still gets in.
Well, the whole thing is just so outrageous. And the funny thing is that I actually had Commissioner Dawn Stump on my podcast, and she's actually, her statement about Coinbase is what we did the podcast on, because they still went on and listed on the stock exchange. Coinbase being fined for misleading and inaccurate reporting and wash trading to list on the stock market, basically given more legitimacy, even though I personally know many, many people personally who have come to me with many stories about being locked out of their Coinbase accounts, losing tens of thousands of dollars. And if the CFTC can't get a handle on that now, Well, I don't see how, I mean, it's so long in the tooth now that if they were going to do something, they should have done it. It's a little bit past the post when you're just slapping somebody who at this point was worth billions of dollars with a mere 6.5 million, even though they knew that what they were doing was misleading the public. So yeah, I just think that you have a really big mountain to help other people climb over so that they can actually get to where they need to go. And I personally am telling my audience, don't use Coinbase. Do not use Coinbase. And by the way, I can say that all I want. This is my podcast and it's my opinion. And if you want to, I mean, I don't know, step in. If you disagree with me, you can say that. I literally have no love lost when it comes to Coinbase. And this is why I love having a popular podcast. Coinbase is not the only platform you can use. And on top of that, you should store your crypto in decentralized places.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, no, I think that there is definitely something to be said about the growings of all of these crypto companies. I mean, I have my own thoughts about each of them, and I'm a customer of a lot of them, right? I mean, I totally get it. I understand. I think in some ways I understand both sides of the equation, where I probably understand in a way that I think maybe only other exchanges can understand, where if you get a certain volume of customers, you probably just don't have the customer service group to actually handle, all of the complaints that are out there and to go do all those things. And that's how you build a business, right? And look to some in the stock market that I think do a really great job and some that don't do a good job and get fined all the time. And again, I won't name any names there, but I mean, there is certainly a decision that you make as a customer where you should know the biggest way that they can be hurt is like you said, the fines are a couple $1 million for $1 billion companies. Just it's a rounding error for them. Mm-hmm. How you hurt them is by not being their customer. So I think, as a consumer, making a conscientious decision to go with somebody that's doing things the right way absolutely is something that I'll vote for all day. And decentralization and centralization, like it's just sophistication at some level. If you forget your wallet password and you're decentralized, like there's just no protection for you. And, you might lose that money forever. If you're in a centralized exchange, you literally can't get locked out of your account as long as they do have customer service there to respond to you. And so like I think there are some good and bad things of each. But again, do your due diligence. Know what you need customer.
One other thing you said before, which is fascinating. Did you say you're the first ever under 18 platform for financial
crypto?
For financial services for crypto?
So I was part of a bank that first authorized under 18 banks. So I've been around for a long time. What's happened in the last couple of years is people actually wanted to make an app or user experience that was specifically for teenagers. And so if you create an app for under 18, you authorize in your terms of service to actually serve that user. So what we've done is we have been the first trailblazer into the crypto world for under 18. There is existing stock products and existing banking products that I think are some really cool things. And so we are really just taking that into this crypto world.
I really love what you're doing. I have to tell you. Who's supporting you? Who are your backers?
Yeah.
The names behind your company. Who are the names there?
Yeah, so I mean, we've raised one round of funding. Yeah, we raised $500,000 round, and that was probably like months back that we closed that round, and we've got some really, I think, strong excitement about what we're up to. Mm-hmm. So those announcements should kind of circle up in the next 2 months. The biggest thing is getting our app live. So that's what we've been kind of dealing with.
Are you going to end up doing also cool things, maybe like investment contests and pitting people against each other, kind of getting into the GameFi side of things?
On the app, pretty basic features where we're trying to create educational content that basically gives you free crypto. You take a 5-question test. You can take a question test every day, and each time you get free crypto. And the amount of free crypto you get is equivalent to form fees. And so if you were to test every single day, you would basically get our platform for free in the amount of crypto that you get back. We actually give it in USDC, so you get to decide if you want to put it in Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever it is after that.
Nice.
Basic as it is in the beginning, it's literally just educational content, quizzes, and then the ability to have 13, 14, 15-year-olds on the app requesting trades, requesting deposits if they want their allowance money to be auto deposited into their account each month or whatever it is. That's the base form. we will go live with 2.0 probably like a month or two after the app goes on the App Store. Some more social features with some more gamification features. When you talk about like competitions, that's always an interesting one. At that level, you have to be thoughtful about what people want to share with each other, in terms of like, and I also don't want to be a performance-based app, because this really is actually not trying to teach you need to have the highest Bitcoin returns. It's actually instead to say, hey, by being in this world and by understanding that sometimes the portfolio goes red, but having the long-term investment horizon is really what we're after, And so like being true to that statement, I think in a lot of ways is huge. Robinhood gives you an award every time you trade because they want you to day trade. We're the opposite, right? We actually want you to long-term hold. We want you to do some things that we are going to make you more successful in the long run, and are really foundational to good investing behavior.
I think that's pretty awesome. There's just so much in this space that you can be doing, and no doubt you will be doing. Well, listen, I would love to have you back on.
Yes, thank you.
I would like to thank everyone for tuning in today to this week's edition of Crypto and Blockchain Talk. Please ask your friends and family to download this particular podcast on one of over 70 different podcasting platforms. We have a partial list on cryptoandblockchaintalk.com, but you can find us on almost every single podcasting platform in the world. Furthermore, this podcast is streamed on our sister radio station, Crypto 24 Radio, playing worldwide 24/7 news, music, and more. In addition, you can contact us through our social media handles on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. But most importantly, we love to hear from you directly through email. Yes, that old thing called email. So please email us at education@savvydigital.com. That's education@savvy, S-A-V-I-I, digital.com. We also know you have many choices what to do with your life at any particular point of the day. We know you're busy, and when you tune into us, it means the world. So please be safe, take care, and goodbye for now.